So the Gemara in the Koines on Daf Samach Amud Beis, I believe, brought down the pasuk that we learned in today's parsha. Let me get the Samach Amud Beis, maybe Samach Aleph Amud Beis. It is Samach Amud Beis. It says La'olam Yichanis B'chitoiv, and it says over here. You're supposed to go by Samach Amud Aleph. It says over here. Va'atem, this is the pasuk in our parsha, boy. Va'atem loy say to ish mi pesach beisoy ad boiker. Klal Yisrael was commanded not to leave their homes all night. Why? Kiven sheniten reshus lamashchis. Once there was reshus to destroy, so now the destroyer einay mafkin bein tzadikim l'rishon. So the first question on this is: we learned in the Haggadah who did all of the hashchasa. Who killed all the b'chayers? Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Ani v'lo malach, ani v'lo saraf, ani v'lo shliach. So how is that possible to say on the Rebbeinu Shalom that he's not going to be mafin b'tzadikim l'rishon? But to make matters worse, Rashi in this week's parsha actually adds to the Gemara, and the question is where he got this from. So Rashi adds to the Gemara. If we look at the pasuk over here, it says. Asher basav atem lo say to ish mi pesach boika mi pesach beisai ad boiker, and Rashi says he quotes our Gemara, but then he adds to it. It says v'atem lo say to magid sheme'acha shenitna reshus lemashus lechabel enei mavri ben tzadik l'rosh. That's our Gemara, but now Rashi adds in something that our Gemara doesn't say. V'layla reshus lemachabel, and nighttime is where the machablim have free reign, which is not limited to the night of Pesach. It's every night. So according to Rashi, does Rashi means to say that when the pasuk says Pesach boiker means we're never allowed to go out at night? It's impossible to say. So what is going on? So there are Rishonim who are Magia on Rashi because it is, and tell us the Gevaltig Gezach. If we all know, Rashi tells us as well in this week's parsha that although Hakadosh Baruch Hu said Bachatzois Alaylos when all this would occur, the Moshe modified what Hakadosh Baruch Hu said, and he told Paro Kachatzois Alaylos. Why? Because if Paro's watch was off by 2 minutes, and Makas Becharis would start a minute late or a minute early, it doesn't make a difference that half his country collapsed and there's a revolution and there's Becharis dying. Oh, it's a minute off. Hashem doesn't. Hashem can't do nothing. You see how matumtum people could be when they have an agenda. It's so obvious that this is a nice, but since it's a minute off, he would reject it. So because of that, Moshe had to say kachatzois alaylo. Well, so too, every night people die naturally. So if some Yidden die because they were supposed to die anyway on that night, Paro would say, "Oh, it's not only going to die, Jews die also," and Viter he would deny the Yad Hashem. So what HaKadosh Baruch Hu had to make sure is that even people who were part of the regularly scheduled program to die that night would not die that night. And Zokt Gemara, Zokt Torah, Hashem didn't give the mashchis permission to go into the houses, but the mashchis was roaming outside. Which mashchis? The Malach HaMavis who's doing his regular beat. And if you look at the Iker Sifsei Chachamim, that's what he says. He says right over here, Pirish, which mashchis? Mashchis stam shebechol laila enimafkin. The regular Malach HaMavis, he doesn't know who's exempt tonight and who's not. If it's on the list, he's bringing in the Shama back. So therefore, for those people who were going to die anyway, you have to stay inside because that night HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't give the mashchis to come in, rishus to come inside. So that favors Rashi. In fact, the akol shul makas b'chayris, there was no need to worry. HaKadosh Baruch Hu could be mafkin bein tzadik l'rasha. But the regular Malach HaMavis, if he's on the list, the Malach HaMavis is going after it. So therefore, for those people, you're supposed to stay inside. That's what we learned. That's what we learned in the Gemara, and that's what Rashi is saying over here as well. Gewaltig. Okay, that takes us. What was that? I just said over a word from the Gemara that we learned on Daf Samach. So now I'm starting right now. We are on Daf Ayin Ches Mabez all the way to the bottom, and what we learned yesterday was what is a complete mechira that would trigger a chi of dal. And we also learned what constitutes a mechira that's not complete. If you reserve part of the animal that you did not sell, what constitutes enough of a deficiency in the sale that would not qualify for dal. So now we're learning a new sugya. Tanu Rabbanan, and today's going to be an easy Gemara because we have a Gada today. Tanu Rabbanan, Ganav v'nasan li'acher. Someone stole and he gave it to somebody else, not as a matana, because if he gave it as a matana, that in and of itself is a mechira that would trigger dal v'hei. But he gave it to a shliach v'tabach to shecht for him, or Ganav v'nasan la'acher umachar, or he gave it to somebody as a shliach to sell it on his behalf. Those are two cases. More cases. Ganav v'hikdish. He stole and he made it hekdish. That's a classic case where there's going to be a chiv dal v'hei. Ganav v'hikif. He stole, and when he sold it, he let the person, the buyer, be koined, but he accepted credit. It means the buyer didn't pay him right away. It's still a good sale. Ganav v'hiklif. He stole an animal and he bartered it. Ganav v'nosan b'matana, or he gave it away as a gift. Or Ganav u'paras chayvay. He stole and he paid up his loan with it because he's a very erlich ganav. He borrowed money, so he wants to pay back. So since he's such an erlich ganav, he had to pay back. So he stole to pay back. Or ganav upar bekevoy. He had credit in the store and his credit was running low. He had to pay off his account. So he's a very erlich guy. So he stole so that he can pay off his debts on time. Or ganav v'sholach sivloinus b'veis chamav. This is puzzling. He stole money so he can send his shver a gift. Dus hab ich noch gehört as Azach. Okay. Unless it means his kala is still there. Could mean he sent it to the kala. Okay. The halach is it was a sweeter gift because genuvim yimtaku, right? So the halach is mishalam tashlumi rabba b'chamisha. All of these are sales. They're considered a sale, and therefore they trigger the chiyuv of dal v'hei.
Yosy, the Gemara says base chamav. It doesn't say the chamav.
I shouldn't get nervous.
That's right.
Okay. So Micah Machnuan. What is the chiddush? These are classic cases of giving or selling. Zok Gemara, you know what the chiddush is? Ashemini the rate, which were the two cases that we learned on Amud Beis, that were shechting or selling through a shliach. That's the chiddush. Ganav v'nosan la'acher v'tavach yeshliach l'dvar avera. The Braj is telling us the chiddush of yeshliach l'dvar avera. Although we already learned this earlier in the Masechta, but here is where the Tana is telling this to us formally. Avagav de b'chala terakula ein shliach l'dvar avera. Even though normally we don't say shlichas l'dvar avera, hacha by tzlicha and mechira there is shliach l'dvar avera. Hacha yeshliach l'dvar avera my time up, but it says v'tavcha u'machara. Just like mechira, it's impossible to do a sale without the participation of somebody else. If someone else participated as a shliach, so that is one chiddush that the Tana is giving us. And the second set of cases teach us a chiddush as well, that gana vehikdish. And the chiddush is, you're not giving it to anybody. Tells you are. Mali machre lehedit, mali machre l'shamay. So, of course, Tosfos says it must be speaking by Kache Bedek Habayis, where you can't say Meikar Tur de Reuben, V'hasha Tur de Reuben, because we had a svara that by Kache Aguf, even though it becomes Hektish, but it's still called Tur de Reuben, Reuben's carbon. But if it's Bedek Habayis, then Mali Machar Lahedit, Mali Machar Lashamayim, you transfer it away, that triggers a Chiyuv of Dalzeh.
So when he sends us Lebaischuma, he sends us to his Kala, that's already his wife. So Volksgewalt mine because he's given it to his wife. But because it's her possession, not his, that's why. Oh, but if somebody comes home with a gift and he gives it to his wife, he doesn't have to pay because then
that's after the Nesuin, then Meshkan Shechom. Okay. Talking more about the Ganav versus Habayim. What happens if someone made the Geneva Rishus Habayim? Which means he went into someone's property and he made a Mashicha. The Mashicha is useless because Mashicha only works when you drag the animal out of the Rishus Habayim into your Rishus or into a Simta. But here he just pulled it within the Rishus of the Bayim. But the Tabach Umacher Chush Rishusam. Then he took it out and he made tficha mechira. So the Rashi tells us, doesn't matter when he took it out. Once he took it out, that triggered the geneva, and therefore he's a ganev and he's chayiv for dalad bey. Or maybe the animal was not under Rishus HaBailim when he took it. So there's a kinyan right there. Even if after he made a kinyan geneva, he took the animal back into the owner's property and made the shechita there, he's still chayiv dalad bey because there was already a geneva. Or he did everything out of the Rishus HaBailim. So there was a geneva, there was a tficha mechira, mishalim tashlumei arba v'chamisha. All of these trigger a chiyuv of dalad bey. But if everything occurred in the Bailam's property, which means in fact nothing occurred at all because there wasn't even a geneva potter. Now he might be chayiv of being mazik the animal if shechting it was damaging the animal. But as far as the chiyuv dalad v'hei for geneva and tficha, that he does not have. So interesting. Someone mentioned today he's a ganev, but he's not a shoichet. Chances are a ganev is not such a big Yiras Shamayim. He's probably not a shoichet. So we had to hire someone to shecht it. So this must have been like the shliach. Someone wanted to time it. So I said over a famous story with Rabbi Yisrael Salanter. He once came into a city and he was trying to raise money or borrow money for his yeshiva, and he met someone there, a wealthy guy, and this fellow tells him they were talking, and it turned out there was no shoichet in the city, and people there were struggling to have meat. So Rabbi Yisrael says, you know what? I happen to be a shoichet. He says, great. Will you shecht all my chickens for me? I'd be delighted if you could do that for me. So Rabbi Yisrael says, sure, I'd be delighted to do that. By the way, would you be able to lend me $1,000? So the guy says, I should lend you $1,000? I don't even know you. So he says, funny, you don't even know me, and you're more than happy to let me shecht for you, but to lend me $1,000, then already you can't trust me. What did that teach us? So here the guy says, I can't trust myself. I can't be the shoichet. Let me hire an elach shoichet. He'll shecht it for me. What if this person was stealing the animal?
Does work.
Yes, the Gemara is going to discuss that. He was in the owner's property and he was dragging the animal out, and the Bailam is telling him, "Hurry up, get it out of my rishus, get it out of my rishus," because it died. Rishus HaBailam before the Ganav got it out. Potter, the Ganav is potter because he didn't steal it. It's the owner's animal that died. The owner would have loved if he would have just crossed the line, and then he would have been able to be fully repaid for his animal. But unfortunately, that didn't happen.
Such a thing, you have to pay if it's
If I stole the animal, if the Ganav stole the animal,
if he was choking it when he slept,
maybe he died in Mechlas. It wasn't psychosis.
Mamish, this second.
Yeah, it's been a muzzle. You know, there's a famous story with somebody who had a horse, and he was also such an honest guy, but he wanted to sell the horse. He put it on eBay for sale for $500 for an expensive thoroughbred horse. So people put bids in, and no one's going to offer big money because you don't know what you're getting. Someone bid $500 and he bought the horse. So the guy says, sure, come to my stable. This is this address. Come pick it up. So the guy knocks on the door for the stable. I'm here to pick up my horse. They go into the stable. It's stable number 4. He opens up the door of slot number 4, and there's a dead horse lying there on the floor. So the guy says, you sold me a dead horse. I want my money back. He said, oh, yeah, I feel so bad. Your horse died. Oh, you fairlich. He said, my horse died. He said, dead horse. Give me my money back. He said, I'm sorry, your horse died. So he was all angry. And the owner says, you better not get so angry. You better get rid of your horse because I'm actually going to charge you $60 a day storage for you keeping your dead horse by me. Get your dead horse out of my barn. So this guy decided he's going to teach this guy their heritage. He ripped me off $500. He advertised, I am raffling off a thoroughbred, $10 a ticket. And thousands of people sent him in money for the ticket. He raised $100,000 and he picked the raffle. And Joe Blow wins. He says, Gavaldik, go take your horse. It's in stable number 4. The guy goes to stable number 4 and he says, it's a dead horse. How could you do that? He's okay, I'll give you back your $10. So that's how you make money on a horse. Zok to more weiter. What? Who cares who won? But
don't give Chaim any fundraising ideas, please.
No, the Toyota Sienna is perfect. It's a hybrid. It works. Okay. Zok to Gemara. Higbiai. What if he made a kinyan hagbah? A Kinagba works even Bershus Abaylam. Or he actually pulled the animal out of the Rishus Abaylam, and then umes, and then the animal tigered, chayiv, then the ganav is chayiv, because now it's the ganav's animal that died. What about nosnoid lebechayris benoid? So there's actually two pshatim in Rashi how to learn. One pshat is that the ganav owed 5 sloyim to a kohen, so he told the kohen, "You see that animal in Shimon's property? Go take that animal." So now, when the kohen is taking it, he's sort of taking it on behalf of the ganav. That's one pshat in what this Mishnah is saying. Rashi has another pshat that he rejects, which Tosfos rejects as well, and that is the Bailim wanted to give an animal to a kohen to pay for Becharish B'nai. So the Bailim told the kohen, "Go take my animal." Oil B'achoy. Again, it's the same shayla. Either it's the ganav taking it and telling his B'achoy to take it, or it's the owner saying, "Tell B'achoy, yeah, go take my animal." Or l'sher mechinim, or l'shoyel, or l'noisei socher, shem socher, or l'socher to a renter. So either it's one of these people taking it from the Bailam, or it's one of these people taking it on behalf of the Ganav, depending on which Pshat Rashi. Rishus HaBailam Potter. If it died Rishus HaBailam, they're Potter. Zok Tosfos and Zok Rashi, this lotion of Rishus HaBailam Potter doesn't make sense if we're talking about the person that the Bailam is giving it to, like Kohen, like a Bachoy. It shouldn't say Potter, it should say Hifsid or Lo Hifsid. It's a question of whose animal died. It's not a question of Chayav or Potter. Therefore, Rashi rejects that pshat, and he learns that the case is that the Ganav told either a Kohen to take it on his behalf, or a Shomer to take it on his behalf, or a Bachoy to take it on his behalf. If it dies B'Shus HaBailam, then the Ganav is Potter because there was no Kinyan done. But if his Shliach, if either his Shomer or the Kohen or the Bachoy, he Chayiv, it's going to be Chayiv. Zok to Gemara, Boy Amemar. Amemar had a kash, a shaila. Tiknu mishicha b'shoimrim oiloi. Were they misakin a kinyan mishicha by shoimrim? What is this shaila? It's actually a machloikis Rashi and Tosfos. Rashi learns shelo yischayev shoimer b'shmir achiyimsha. Is it true that a shoimer, until he makes a kinyan on the chayfetz, he's not going to be chayiv? So a shoimer chinam won't be chayiv on pshia unless he made a mishicha. A shemer socher won't be chayiv on gneva v'aveda unless he made a meshicha. A socher won't be chayiv, depending on how you learn. He won't be chayiv on gneva v'aveda until he makes a meshicha, and the shoyel won't be chayiv on noishin unless he made a meshicha. That is the shaila according to Rashi. Tosfos says it's impossible that should be the shaila, because we have a Gemara that says beferish that once the shomer makes a kinyan, he's going to be chayiv. So this cannot be the shaila. So therefore, Tosfos has a different opinion of what the shaila is. And Tosfos says, on the bottom Tosfos, if I go down like 6 or 7 lines, in the Tosfos, Elo Eimeri, the Mibayale, the Shoyel V'Soicher. The Shaila is not by Al Kinyan, by Al Shoimrim. Al Shoimrim, surely the moment he makes a Mashicha, he is Chayiv. The question is a Shoyel or a Soicher, if he makes a Kinyan, and then the owner of the object wants to cancel the rental, or wants to cancel the Shaila. In other words, you want to borrow my lawnmower? Because it died. Go borrow my lawnmower. So my friend takes my lawnmower and he makes a kinyan on it. And then I tell him, no, I changed my mind. I want it back. Does the fact that the borrower or the renter made a kinyan, does that now make it irrevocable and he has a right to keep it for the entire term of the she'ela or for the entire term of the schiris? Even though it made a mashicha, what makes it irrevocable? Maybe it only becomes irrevocable once I started using the lawnmower already. Or maybe it's irrevocable the moment I made a Mashicha. We actually have a Manda Amar. If you borrowed someone's axe, the halach is Bika boy kanoi. If you used it already to chop down trees, then you're koinit. Loy Bika boy loikan. And therefore, umatzi mashil hoder bay. So you see this svara elsewhere that there's a tzad, at least one mandamar holds, that once you use it, it becomes irrevocable and the person can. Once you start mowing your grass, I have to let you mow your grass with it. I can't stop in the middle. But if you only made a kinyan on it, maybe the Gemara declares I could pull it back. The chaim bepara, I rented you my ox to plow with. So you made a mashicha, but you didn't start plowing. Okay, so now let's see the Gemara's raya to this shaila. Zog to Gemara, Toshma. Amar Rav Yemer Toshma. Rav Yemer wants to be raya from our very Mishnah. What does the Mishnah say? Not all the B'charis B'noi, oil ba'chayvoi, l'sher mechinam l'shoyel, l'noises sacher l'soicher. And hayamoshcha b'yoytze yumeis, b'shus habaylim potter. Zog to Gemara, my lav shomer. What is the case in our Mishnah? Must be speaking about a shomer. Zog to Rashi, my lav shomer, hayamoshcha shomer umeis. Chayiv ganav b'shichas hashomer, which is how we learned the Mishnah. So you see clearly that when the shomer takes it, he's kainit b'mashicha. So you have a raya that the shomer is kainit b'mashicha. Ushmami na tiknu mashicha b'shomer. Amar leiloi ganev. The ganev is the one who was stealing it from a shomer that was watching it on behalf of the bailam. Frank the Gemara, if it's talking about the ganev stealing it and what constitutes a kinyan when the ganev steals it and what doesn't, hatanya le'reisha. We had the discussion about a ganev stealing what constitutes a kinyan. So tomorrow, no, there's a difference. The reisha is tana ganev sheganav beis bailam. That's about a ganev who's taking the object from the beis bailam. And the seif of the Mishnah is v'tana ganev sheganav beis shomer. Amar Rabashi, come on, that's not a good teretz. Lo yitzitcha, you shouldn't push off my raya because mali ganev sheganav beis shomer, mali ganev sheganav beis bailam. There's no difference. If I'm taking it, whatever constitutes a kinyan by the bailam will constitute a kinyan by the shomer. So it doesn't make sense to make such an argument that that's what the Mishnah is talking. And allow shomer. It must be that it's the shomer of the ganev taking it on behalf of the ganev, and the kinyan works. Ushmamina tiknu b'shricha b'shomer mishmamina. So I learned this raya according to Rashi, where the shaila is it a kinyan to be mechayiv the shomer? According to Tosfos, that the question is, are you kainit to the point that he can't take it back or not? I didn't explain the Gemara according to that side. Tosfos explains it. I actually didn't learn the Tosfos yet, but I have an itch to learn the Tosfos because according to Tosfos, the shaila is not if you're chayiv in the shmir about who you are. The shaila is only if the bailam could say, "I want it back" before you started to use it. So what is the raya from our Mishnah? So if you could humor me for a minute, I just want to see how Tosfos learns. Upashit leimi masnisen. What was the raya that the Gemara brought? L'gabe this shaila from our Mishnah. The nosnu l'becharis b'noi. In the case of becharis b'noi, the katani it says higbihai. If he lifted it up, the kohen lifted it up, oy shahitziai meshus bailim, or he took it out of the meshus bailim, umeis and it died. Chayiv, the ganev will be chayiv. But the Gemara asks, my lav shomer. Umidachayiv ganev amashicha shomer. Since we're saying that the ganev is chayiv because the mashicha was done by the shomer, so the shomer did it on his behalf. Shemamino, you must see the mashicha gemurahi. That proves that it's a full mashicha with a full kinyan. Shein yochal achsaboy, that the bailam couldn't be chayzer. How do you see that? Maybe it's only a kinyan legabe the chiyuvim. Zokt Rash, zokt Tosfos. Shem haya yochal achsaboy. You're going to make an argument that the bailam could be chayzer from this minui shlichus before there's an actual use of it, even after Mashiach, it wouldn't be logical to say that the Ganev would be chayiv with the Mashiach of the Shomer. Umeshani, the Gemara answered, Loi, Ganev, Shoya Ganev, Moishcha Mibei Shomim. It was speaking where the Ganev himself was stealing it. Okay, and with that, it continues the way we learned the Gemara. Okay, so at the end of the day, the Gemara fears us that Tiknu B'Shicha B'Shomer, meaning the same way you buy something with a kinyan and it becomes irrevocable, so too any of the shomer, when you make a kinyan on it, the standard kinyan that would work for buying something, that solidifies and makes irrevocable the arrangement of the shmir. Itmar nami, we actually have support to this halacha. Amar Balazer keder shetiknu Mashicha b'lekuchos kach tiknu Mashicha b'shomer. Tanya nami hachi, we had a brayso that's similar. Keder shetiknu Mashicha b'lekuchos kach tiknu Mashicha b'shomer. Uchashem shakaka niknis bekesef shtaru v'chazaka. Just like there's a kinyan of kesef shtar and chazaka for karka, kach schiris niknis bekesef shtar v'chazaka. So too, when you're renting something, you'll be koined, it will become irrevocable with kesef star and chazaka. What product are we talking about when we say it becomes irrevocable with kesef star and chazaka? Ilema schiris the metaltalin, printing on top of bays. If you're talking about schiris and metaltalin, you're borrowing somebody's lawnmower. That's kesef star and chazaka, make it irrevocable. How could you argue that? Metaltali b'nei star and inu. We know that a star has no impact whatsoever on kinyonim for metaltalin. So how could you make such an argument? It's talking about renting karka. The same when you buy karka, you're coin it with kesef star and chazaka. So too when you rent karka, when you lease karka, what makes the deal irrevocable is a kinyan of kesef star or chazaka.
What does a car have?
Sorry,
Car is not star.
a car no, not. A car's metaltalin. The contract might just say what the kinyan is about, but the actual ma'aser kinyan would have to be Mashiach. Omer Abelazar, Ra'u shehitmin b'charsha. An interesting case. A normal ganiv sneaks into somebody's rishos and steals an animal from a personal rishos. Here, there was a public grazing ground that many people would bring their animals to graze in. He was hiding amongst the grass, and he was going to chop someone's animal. So it was witnessed. Someone saw him that he was hiding there, and then v'tavachu mocher. And then he either made a tvicha or mecher on someone, some poor victim on their animal. So the lach is mishalim toshlumei Bava chamisha. We have enough evidence to be mechayiv this villain with dal v'hei. No one witnessed him do a ma'aser gneva. Yes, you saw him looking to steal, but nobody caught him in the act. So if you don't have an edim on the gneva, how could you be mechayiv him dal v'hei? Omar B'chista, no, we do have edim. We have edim shekisha b'makel, that he hit the animal and made it move. That is a mashicha. So in fact, we have edus. Correct Gemara, but if we have if people saw him in public, that's not a ganav anymore. That's not someone stealing something clandestinely hiding. It's a public knowledge thing. If someone saw him, he's a gazlan. Now the problem is every single ganav someone had to see him. Otherwise, how you mean chayv him dalvei? You need edim under geneva. So every ganav should be a gazlan because he was seen. Why is the Gemara suggesting that just because two edim saw him, now he's a gazlan? So Rashi and Tosfos both make a very important distinction. So Zok Rashi, I'm on the third skinny line. This is not comparable to a regular ganav who was also caught by Edom. Why? The Hasam Afal Gab the Chazal Shar Inshi. I'm breaking into Reuben's property. I see Levi and Yehuda walking by. I'm not concerned about Levi and Yehuda because it's not Levi and Yehuda's problem. I'm not stealing from them. So therefore, I'm still a ganav, even though I'm ignoring those two people who watch me. Because I know they're not Magabadavar. They're not losing money. They're not stealing from them. The Meimar Amar, they say, hey, my problem. I'm happy that they're stealing his animal. At least they're not in my backyard stealing my animal. Abel Charshin, but if someone is in a public property, Mir Lacholi. So when he's stealing an animal, he has no idea whose animal he's stealing. Anybody looking at him might actually be the owner of the very animal that he's stealing. He doesn't know who this behemoth belongs to, this behemoth that he's stealing. Therefore, since he's not afraid of anybody, because he knows the likelihood is that someone is watching him, is the owner of the animal that he's going to steal. That's someone who's coming with azos. He's not afraid. Gazlan, who that makes him into a gazlan, and therefore he's not chayv dalvei because he's not a ganav. He's a gazlan. Zok Tosfos, the second Tosfos, the given the ra'u gazlan who kloimar she'oise b'mokim goli. He's doing this in a public place. So Tosfos makes a different distinction. Rashi's distinction is whether the owner knows I'm stealing his animal or whether it's just a third party. It's more of a hazah when I know there's a possibility that the owner knows that I'm stealing. Tosfos' position is that if I'm in a public place, that's more brazen versus when I'm stealing from someone's private property. Okay.
It's like he asked the kasha. He only took the chemucha. You didn't see him steal. I see he got to buy him, and that's
They had to see him make a kinyan. They had to see him make a kinyan. Otherwise, there's no No matter what, they had to see him make a kinyan. You cannot be chayiv dal vei unless they're edom on the gneva.
That's the question.
No, the Gemara just kisha b'makom. But I'm up to the next stage of the Gemara. Yechiv do a gazlanu. So the Gemara, no. Yes, it's in a public setting, and yes, it's possible that the person who owns the animal is right there. But lemaisa kivan the tamari minayu. Lemaisa, he's hiding in the grass. That's enough to make him into enough of a coward that it's considered a ganav. So, for Gemara, if even someone who's brazen and he in public is stealing something where it's possible that the owner is seeing it, if even that you call a ganav, so what is a gazlan? Ve'la gazlan hechadami. Amr Abavo, either Kigoin ben Ayo ben Yayoda Shenemer, it says about him, he confronted the Mitri. It says, V'hu hika es ish Mitri, ish mara, uvayara Mitri chanis. And the Mitri had a weapon. He had a bayonet. V'yered elov b'shevet, v'yigzal chanis. He went and he grabbed away the weapon. That's as brazen as you can get. It's right in his face. You're grabbing a weapon away from him. V'yara Mitri, and he killed the Mitri with his own weapon. So that's Geneva, that's Ksela. When I'm confronting a guy, he knows I'm confronting it, I'm taking it right from his hand. That's the definition of a gazlan. But anything where I'm hiding, that, even if it's public, that's still classified as a ganav. It's like Balei Shem. Shenemar, it says in Shoftim regarding the Balei Shem who were ambushing Eden, they would create ambushes at the mountaintops, and when people were traveling through there, they would be pounced upon. That's called a gazlan. Even though they're hiding, but they're pouncing. Why did Rabavo, why did he pick Benoy ben Yayoda? Why didn't he also pick the Balei Shem? They're hiding, right? That's the whole point. They're hiding. So that's not called gazlan. Rabbi Yochanan did consider the gazlan. Rabbi Yochanan, they're not hiding because they're afraid. Rabbi Yochanan, how the commentary is the loy nechsinu inchi. They're hiding because it's an ambush. They're happy to confront them in their face and steal from them. They're hiding because they don't want people to see the danger and avoid that area. That's not called someone who's a coward. That's part of their strategy. That's also considered a gzeila. Sha'alu Talmidov. Now we're going to get into a little bit of an akad. Sha'alu Talmidov Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Mipnei machmira Torah beganev Yosy migazlan. Why is it that a ganev, they throw the book at him, he has to pay kefil and dal vei? Why isn't the ganev shackled with these same punishments? Amar lahem, you know why? Because zeh hishve kavod eved lekavod kainai. At least the gazlan has no more fear of the Rebbeinu Shalom, or has no more fear of the people than he has of the Rebbeinu Shalom. He's not afraid of anybody. He's making a decision that I'm going to deal with the consequences. I need this money, and I'm willing to deal with the consequences from the Rebbeinu Shalom, from the people, and I'm going to do the gezeilah. But for zeh, but a ganev lahishve kavod eved lekavod kainai. He's afraid of people, but he's not afraid of the Rebbeinu Shalom. He thinks the Rebbeinu Shalom is not going to see. He thinks he's going to get away with it. That's a chil Hashem. Kivayachol also ein shel mata ki ilu einay roya, v'ayin shel mata ki ilu einay shemas. So you might say it should say oisa ein shel maila. We're talking about the Rebbeinu Shalom. So there are those who learn pshat that we're saying of derech kavod. We don't want to mention Hashem, but the Ben Yoda says no. It's also ein shel mata ki ilu einay roya, v'ayin shel mata ki ilu einay shemas, meaning the cry of the victim of his theft, who Nebuch is struggling, and now you stole an important thing that he had. You stole his cow, you stole his animal. He's sad, he's crying to the Rebbeinu Shalom. He's crying b'tzar, which is a tefillah that the Rebbeinu Shalom always listens to. He's saying after Rebbeinu Shalom won't listen to him. So that's a big avla, because that is already brazen. There's a lot of talk in the Rishonim about the differences between Gzela and Geneva. So I'm just going to mention some of them that I remember. There was one svara that was given that Gzela, the owner, has some hope of recovery because at least he knows who stole it. So he could possibly find some way to get it back. Geneva, he has zero hope of recovery because he has no idea who stole this from him. So that's why Geneva is worse. Another svar that the Rishonim offer why Geneva is worse is because Geneva, there's less of an embarrassment to him. Not everybody knows he's a Ganav. He's getting away with it. He goes to the Bishmerish, he still gets Shlishi, he still gets Shishi, he's trying to eat. A Goslin is sacrificing his reputation in doing so. And there was a third pshat that was offered from the Ben Yehoyada. I'm trying to see if it will come back to me, but I can't remember it right now. But there's a third pshat in the difference between a Ganav and a Goslin. Shneimar says in the pasuk, we're talking about people who don't think the Rebbeinu Shalom sees. Hava hamamikim me Hashem, they're hiding things away. They're making things deep from the Rebbeinu Shalom. Last year, Eitzah, they did their averis in the darkness, concealed, thinking that Hashem won't know. If you look in the pasuk, it says, "Vayomer mirayenu, miyaydenu." Who's going to know? And then the pasuk in Tehillim says, "Vayomer lo yira ka." They say we'll do averis and Hashem won't catch us. Uchsivit says, they said, Ozav Hashem Esaretz Vein Hashem Roya. That's what the Oynish of Geneva is for, because he is afraid of people, but he's not afraid of the Rebbeinu Shalom. Gavaltig. Amar Meir, Bo Re'eh, come and see, Kama Godol Koyach Shomalacha. Baruch Hashem, I can teach this Gemara as Pashup Shat because all my daughters are now engaged. Look how beautiful a job is. Look how beautiful work is. A shore that actually does productive work on behalf of the owner. Therefore, the owner's losing the production of this animal. So, Chamisha. That's why the Torah makes the Ganav pay 5 times its value. But Seh, if it's stolen, the Seh doesn't do work. I use it for other things, for gizois, lodois, but at the end of the day, that the Seh was missing a couple of days doesn't cost me anything. Arba is only pays 4. I'm sorry?
Makes extracted.
Amar Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Come and see Kama Godel covered up Rias. Another reason why for a shor you pay Chamisha and for a say you pay Daled because of covered up Rias. Shor Shalach Baraglav, a shor you can't lift. So how did the Ganav steal it? By pulling it. It was walking. That's not a humiliating task to do. Chamisha, that's why he pays 5. But Seh Sheher Kivoy Al Kseifoy, a Seh which the Ganav had to carry, which is somewhat of a demeaning action. Hashem looks at in your Avera, you were a little bit demeaned. Arba, you only have to pay 4. So I want to share with you 2 interesting things. How busha is a very, very powerful tool to bring somebody up madregas. It's brought down if someone has bizoinus, it wipes out all his averas. And we all know the famous story where someone wanted to have a child and the gadol said, "I can't give you a bracha. I don't have that koyach. But if you want to have a child, find somebody who is humiliated in public and doesn't answer back. They're from in the halovim veinam olvin. Ask them for a bracha at that moment, and that's the power, that bracha of hanelovim veinam olvin. Someone who just suffered an embarrassment, his bracha is more powerful than any gadol ador, and you'll for sure have a baby. You'll sure have a baby if they give you a bracha. The kachava. I always wanted to know, can I be mevazah somebody barabim and then ask him for a bracha? I always wondered if that would work. I'm not sure. But I had a story, my personal story, here in the Bismedrash. It was at the beginning of El, where most people are in the cottage. So our minyanim comprise usually of like 6.5 people and 2.5 chamashim. But we had a minyan in Mincha Erev Shabbos. And what happened was, I'm in the middle of davening Shemoneh Esrei. I had my eyes closed. And someone was talking, making noise during this Shtil Shemoneh Esrei. And someone else got annoyed. And Mamish was mavazeh the guy, Barabim, you're ruining up a shmedrush, you can get away from here. I don't remember the exact wording. It goes back many years ago, maybe 10 years ago. But boy, he ripped him to shreds in public. All I'm thinking is, how can I exploit this for my benefit? So I had to get Shemoneh Esrei quickly, and then I had to figure out who is the victim. So I had to get somebody to speak Lashon Hara. So I poked around who the victim was. I found out. I went straight to him in the middle of Chazar Shabbat. I said, "You got to come outside right now." And I was struggling to find my daughter Shidduch at the time. And they gave me a bracha and half of the bracha was Makuyim. He said, your daughter should find a wonderful chassan very soon, and you should have all the money in the world to pay for it. My daughter is married, so the other half of the bracha maybe wasn't Makuyim, but I'm very grateful for that bracha. So it's a bracha that definitely works. There's another story about how powerful Bizyonis are that Rabbi Lowy once said over on Shabbos Shuvah. There was once a story where the Panovich Rav would travel all around the world to raise money. And one time he was somewhere in South America and he saw advertised on the posts that there was going to be a big debate between an Orthodox rabbi and a Reform rabbi debating what is the real Judaism. Is it Reform Judaism or is it Orthodox Judaism? It piqued his interest and he decided he was going to attend the debate. And they're throwing arguments back and forth. The emes always wins. So, of course, the Orthodox rabbi had the Reformed rabbi on the ropes, figuratively on the ropes. And suddenly, the Reformed rabbi gets up and says, Rabbi, last Shabbos, you drove to McDonald's and you ate treif in McDonald's. And the rabbi, the Orthodox rabbi, turned red like a beet. He was shocked. He couldn't even open his mouth. He was speechless. And everybody went quiet. And he says, so you see, you don't even believe in it yourself. You're full of baloney. This whole orthodoxy thing is just to make yourself feel better than us so you could talk down to us. You're a fake. You're a phony. You're a fraud. It's Reform Judaism. And it was a knockout punch. So the Panovich Rav gets up and asks, the sign says it's an open debate. Can I also share my opinion? He said, sure, this is an open debate. So the Panovich Rav walks up to the stage, and he turns to the Reform rabbi, and they asked him, do you go to McDonald's? Do you eat treif? He says, of course I eat treif. What do you think? I'm an old-fashioned wacko who's going to subscribe to these old, antiquated laws that have no relevance in today's society? And do you drive it? Of course I drive on Shabbos. To the contrary, we have to be restful on the Sabbath. So I'm going to drive in comfort. I'm not going to corrupt the Torah the way you guys do. And I'm proud of it. So Tom Panovich Rav says, that is the difference between an Orthodox Jew and a non-Orthodox. What was the reaction of the Orthodox rabbi when you accused him of all these things? He turned red like a beet from humiliation, while you're proud of it. It says in the pasuk, if your averos make you red, you're embarrassed by them, you're bothered by them. Yes, we do averos, but we're bothered, you're humiliated by him. Then kashanim then kashelag yalbinu. Then Hashem is moichel them, because the moment someone suffers embarrassment, Hakadosh Baruch Hu's moichel all his averos. You're proud of your averos. For you, there is no hope. That was, and the Panovich Rav saved the day. As a matter of fact, I was once listening to a class from Rav David Cohen. He's a very famous posek in New York, and I'm not sure if he's still alive, but he was a posek in New York, and he told us that once a week he used to give a shiur for rabbis of semi-frum congregations from Long Island, and he gave him a shiur every week, and they would always, discuss current events with him that were going on. So that was the week that a new shul opened up in Manhattan. It was called Congregation Simchas Torah, the Congregation of Gay Torah. So they asked him, new rabbi, what do you say about this new gay congregation? So he said, I decided to challenge them. And I told him, I don't understand. Mishkav Zocher is Chayiv Skila. You in your Beis Medrash, you have plenty of mispalim that are Mechal Shabbos. They're also Chayiv Skila. So what's the difference between your Beis Medrash and their Beis Medrash? So they were dumbfounded. Like, that's not the reaction that they expected from a David Cohen. But after a while, but I'll tell you the difference. The difference is the name of your shul is not Kehilas Mechalei Shabbos. That's not your banner. That's not what you're proud of. Rahman al-Khan, there are people who aren't Shomer Shabbos, but that's not what you stand for. Here, they're proudly waving the banner. That's there's no hope for. If your various bother you and they embarrass you, Hashem will be moichel us. So all of us, we're all embarrassed when we do averos. So Hashem should be moichel all our averos, and we should bring the geula, the kolei mamish. Gewaltig. Zogt heilige Mishnah weiter. Ein megadlin behema daka be'eretz Yisrael. You're not allowed to raise behema daka in Eretz Yisrael. And Rashi says because they eat everything, and they're going to end up messing up people's properties. And we want Eretz Yisrael to grow and to be prosperous. If we have animals destroying properties, it's not going to be good for the growth of Eretz Yisrael. Aval Magadlan b'Surya. In Surya you could, because although David captured Surya, it didn't take on Kedushas Aretz, and it's considered Chutz La'aretz. Midbar shel Eretz Yisrael. In the Midbar in Eretz Yisrael, there you can also be Megadol Behemadaka, because it's not an area that will ruin fields that would cause a problem to the Yishuv. Ein Megadol Tarnagoyim b'Yerushalayim. Nobody's allowed to raise Tarnagoyim in Yerushalayim, even in Yisrael, who doesn't need to eat B'Tahira, because there's so much Kochim in Yerushalayim. We don't want any tumah, and Tarnagoyim spread tumah, because they're always poking around and pecking around, and they're going to peck into an ashba and come onto tumah, then they're going to spread it. Keep them out of Yerushalayim, there won't be an issue. V'loi kahanim be'eretz Yisrael, and kahanim never can have any type of chickens around, because they're always dealing with taharis, and chickens are problematic. But not taharis. Ein megadlen chazerim b'chol makom. You're never allowed to raise pigs, which the Gemara will explain. Lo yigadl adam es hakela. A person should not raise a dog, elim kain hayakasher b'shol shalos, unless it's tied up with a chain. Dogs are dangerous. Rashi says, I believe, es hakela mepnei shenoishech, it bites, u'minaveach, and it barks, u'mapelas isha miyirosei. A woman who encounters a dog could get shocked and afraid and lose her child. It's funny that this is very what's it called? Male chauvinistic. Because when I'm walking with my wife and a dog comes on us, I actually hide behind her. And it's a very funny sight, because I'm this big guy hiding behind my little wife, but I'm the one who's afraid of dogs. But I always tell my wife, you know why I'm afraid of the dog? Because they see you, they see me, who are they going to eat? I'm the Big Mac. You're just a toothpick, right? Ein person nishuvim liyonim. You're not allowed to set up traps for doves. Elim kena yerachik min ha'yishuv lamed ris. You have to be lamed ris, which is 4 mil, Rashi says, because it's very possible you're going to end up trapping someone's bird that he owns. Gewaltig. So I just want to share another beautiful word. There's an issue. What's the problem with a dog? He can cause a woman to miscarry. My Rosh Yeshiva said, I once asked my little son, how many chamashim are there in the Chamisha Chumash Torah? Hint. So his son said 5. So he told us, I know you're wrong. There's actually 7. Because Bamidbar is split up into 3 chamashim. There's Bamidbar up until Vayibin Aaron. There's Bamidbar after Vayibin Aaron, and then there's a parsha of Vayibin Aaron. So Rav Elia asked, what is so important, significant? What messages are these psukim delivering that's so important that the Torah dedicates a full chumash to it? So Rav Elia said, there's a medrash pliya. It says, Shuva Hashem rivivois alva Yisrael. The medrash tells us mikan she'ena shchina shayra pachas mishnei alof mishnei revavois, which means unless there's 22,000 people in Klal Yisrael, there's no hashroish hashkin. So zok the medrash. If there would be one less than that amount, and there's a woman who would be mashing that amount to deliver hashrosh hashchina, and the dog barks and now she miscarries, there won't be hashrosh hashchina. Frank Revelia, that's why you shouldn't raise a mad dog? That's ridiculous. What are the chances that situation will happen? There's either many more or many less. Punk, you're going to have such a scenario. It's so remote. How could that be the reason? Zok Revelia, all the Medrash is telling us is the difference between 22,000 and one less is Hashrosh Hashchina. And that is a huge magnitude. Hashrosh Hashchina, yes or no, is a massive magnitude. Zok Revelia, between 1 Yid and 2 Yidin, between 2 and 3, between any number, every extra Yid adds something so significant of the same magnitude as Hashrosh Hashchina. Now, we don't know exactly what each difference is between 1 and 2 and 2 and 3. But the Medrash tells us an example. The difference between 22,000 and one less is Hashrosh Hashchina. But between every Yid to another Yid, there will be a difference of such a great magnitude. So it teaches us the Chashivas of a Yid. Zok Revelia. The Chashivas of a Yid to teach us, that's worth designating and dedicating an entire Chumash. Zok the Gemara. Tan Rabbanan. Ein megadlin bein medaka be'eretz Yisrael. Aval megadlin b'chorshin shebe'eretz Yisrael. In fields, in forests, you're allowed to, because that's not a problem. It's public property, I guess, won't ruin the land. But Surya, afilu b'yishuv, because Surya, like the Rashi and the Mishnah, is not considered with Kedushas as Yisrael. Surely there you're allowed. Tan Yidich, ein megadlin bein medaka be'eretz Yisrael. Aval megadlin b'midbar shebe'Yehuda u'b'midbar shebe'saper Aku. That's by the border of Aku. V'aval pi she'amru ein megadlin bein medaka aval megadlin bein megasa. I bemegases also eat. V'she'ein goyshun gzerer ala tzibur ella imkain roiv tzibur yechoylin lamed ba. It's impossible to survive without bemegases. You need them to plow fields. You need them to lift loads. We can't prohibit that because society couldn't function. But behemedaka, keep it out of the city. Big deal.
How could you have kaboons?
No, you bring them in for the kabbalah, but you can't be gattled it. Doesn't say you can't bring them in, you can't be megattled it. But you bring them in when you need them.
Pesach, you need less than a year.
Oh, come basically asking me. Zok tomorrow behemedaka, efshel lavi min chutz laaretz, behemegasa efshel lavi min chutz laaretz. V'aval b'yishamer ein megattled behemedaka, aval mashahu koidim l'regel shloshim yoim. When Yom Tov is coming and people need food, they need karbonis, there for 30 days there's a relaxing of the rules, and there you're allowed to have behemoths, and if you're making a chasna, the koidim mishte benoi lamajoy. So when there's a need for it, avada you're allowed to, but that's only for that grace period. Uvilvad shelo yisha es achroino shloishim yoy. Don't think. Let's say I buy 30 days before Yom Tov, I buy an animal, and 29 days, and I buy one today until the last day before Yom Tov. So I might tell myself, since I'm allowed to buy a behema daka 30 days before Yom Tov, it means that I'm entitled to hold the behema for 30 days. So the animal that I brought Erev Yom Tov, if I didn't use it on Yom Tov, I can still keep it until my 30 days expires. Zok the Gemara, no. The last animal that you bought on the last day, you don't have 30 days, you only have till the end of Yom Tov. So if the Yom Tov is over, but not
Yosy, 1 second. It says Mishte Benoi. What about today? The collar pays for the wedding.
Yeah, I actually thought about that, but I couldn't say aloud because right now I'm making Mishte BT, and I wanted to elaborate on maybe it should be Mishte Benoi, but I don't think my mechitim learns the daf, so I have to be careful what I say now. Who knows? You might be listening, so I have to be careful. So
Mati has the same problem. Mati has the same problem.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so the navelik regel michazav not hashta akati lemolet tasen yoymin. What if Yom Tov is over, but my 30 days since I bought that animal has not expired yet? Loy name it plus and Mr. Sharile. Lashuye. Don't say I have the full 30 days. Ella kivin the navelik regel loy mi boy lashuye. Once Yom Tov is over, even though you haven't had that animal 30 days yet, your time is up and you got to get rid of it. Okay, Baruch Hashem, we finished Daf Ayin Test. Tomorrow morning.
So let's go to the 2 dots. Let's go to the 2 dots.
Okay, we'll into the 2 dots, no problem. Zok the Gemara weiter. The Tabach. Rashi says, "Hamekabed is a behemoth liyamashuk." So he's an animal merchant. Lekeach he can buy, v'shoichet and shecht, oy lekeach v'shoyeh, or he can hold ad yoy mashuk shloishim yoyim l'mekchay. He can actually hold things because he needs to be able to gather them together to sell. Ulevad shlo yisha ha'aguna shebehen lamajoyim. So Rashi, ulevad shlo yisha ha'aguna hamucheres l'mekchay. The items that he bought, the animals that he bought right before the Yom HaShuk, Shalokach Samuch Leis HaShuk, he doesn't have a 30-day leeway on them. He only can start buying 30 days before the Yom HaShuk, but everything ends after the Yom HaShuk.
Every month.
I'm sorry?
There's a Yom HaShuk every month.
I don't know, but whenever the Yom HaShuk, there's one every month, then he'll be able to buy every month. But maybe there isn't every month. I'm not sure how it works. But a merchant is allowed to have.
I was in Poland. And I was there. I went one time and I went another time. I was always a Yom HaShuk over there.
Aha. I hear. But that wasn't in Yerushalayim. Maybe in Yerushalayim they didn't have Yom HaShuk so often. Okay, everyone should have a good tavach, a gebench tavach.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good to walk.
Good.
What time tomorrow? 9 o'clock.
Tomorrow at 7 and at 9.
Okay. The same station?
The same channel. Yeah, the same channel.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Go ahead.
Shkoyach.